The sound came from just beyond the tree line below camp. It was long, sustained, and powerful, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Both men backed toward the tent, unsure what to do. The sound continued for several seconds, then stopped suddenly. In the silence that followed, a large object crashed through the brush downhill, possibly a log or heavy branch thrown from the darkness. The men could hear movement immediately after the impact. Something large walking slowly up the slope toward camp. The steps were steady and rhythmic, and the ground seemed to vibrate under each one. When the sound reached the edge of the clearing, it stopped completely. The men stood motionless, lights aimed toward the tree line. For nearly 30 seconds, there was no sound. Then a single loud slap hit the side of their tent. The tent shook violently, and the men stumbled back. Another blow hit the opposite side of the tent, followed by a deep grunt. For nearly 30 seconds, there was no sound. Then a single loud slap hit a tree. The men stumbled back. Another blow hit another tree, followed by a deep grunt, so close it seemed to come from just outside camp. One man fired a warning shot into the air. The gunshot echoed through the valley and was met instantly with a roar that was deafening. A long chest-deep sound that rolled over the ridge and faded slowly. After that, all movement stopped for several minutes. The forest was still. The men listened, but the silence was worse than the noise had been. Then suddenly a second roar erupted from behind the tent, lower and shorter, followed by a sound like wood splitting. Something struck the cooler near the fire pit, sending it tumbling across the clearing. Another loud impact hit the side of the tent, breaking one of the poles. The men shouted and moved away from the tent. The next 10 minutes were chaotic. Heavy footsteps circled the camp, branches snapped, and rocks struck the ground around them. The growling intensified, alternating between two positions, one above the camp, one below. The sound of breathing was clear and heavy. The men were surrounded. One fired another shot toward the slope, but the creature did not retreat. Instead, it slammed against a nearby tree with a sound like a bat hitting solid wood. The activity continued in waves, long periods of silence followed by bursts of noise and movement. Each time they thought it had ended, another hit or growl would start again from a new direction. They described the behavior as controlled and purposeful. Each sound seemed to test their reaction. At one point, a large shadow moved at the edge of the clearing, tall enough that its head reached above the lowest branches of the trees. One of the men swept his flashlight across it and saw a broad, dark shape step behind a tree.